Welcome to Plate and Palate with Megan and Abby. So excited for you to join us today. I am Abby Gardner, owner of Abby Cooks Wild, and I am here with my amazing friends and colleagues. Megan, go for it.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. I am Megan McGee. I am a registered dietetic tech, certified mind body eating coach, and owner of Nourish Nutrition Consulting, which is a virtual nutrition practice focusing on bridging health gaps with clients who have chronic health conditions.
So today we have brought in an amazing human that both Megan and I have known for many years. And we wanted to bring her in to this conversation because this is actually a continuation of a couple of conversations we've previously had here on Plate and Palate with Megan and Abby around buzzwords that you might hear or see in food industry, around quality of proteins that you're buying, around all of those kinds of things. You may have even heard us mention her name 2 or 3 or 100 times. So I want to welcome the amazing and wonderful Mindy Kain to our conversation today. Mindy, please share with us a little bit about you and share with us everything that we need to know.
That's a big question. Yes.
You have a couple hours.
Question. Yes.
You guys are incredible. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be on here with you guys. And I'm honored that I get to share this space because the two of you are just incredible with what you do. And Plate and Palate is such an amazing podcast. I'm excited for so much more from both of you.
Oh,
so I am Mindy Kain. I am with Kain Meats. My husband and I have a small ranch east of Greeley, east of Kersey, and we raise steers for beef. And we recently, last year, brought on a partner that raised pork. So they do the pork side of our business. And I'm really excited to share more about what we do and who we are and just continue on this great discussion of what does it mean to have good food and how do you get it?
I learned something new already. I didn't know that you were, I didn't know you guys were starting to do pork.
yeah.
See, this is already working out for me.
That in. Yeah, it's amazing. It takes us a while because we feel very strongly that those people have to match the quality that we have with our beef. So we definitely scrutinize those people that we bring on as partners.
So cool. So Mindy, will you start there for us? Tell us about your farm. Who do you have on the farm? Just steers, other animals, and tell us more about just even kind of the initial process. Where do your cattle come from? What does the farm experience look like? Tell us more about like the farm and your animals themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So we try to keep our ranch relatively small. We have 28 acres and the county says we can have up to 100 animals. So they give you a certain amount of space that they consider appropriate for each animal. And that's just for the sustainability and honestly, for my husband and I to handle, that's a little bit too much. So we really try to keep our operation at 50 head of cattle or under. Just so we can manage, and that is truly manageable. I also have 15 chickens, and we have 5 cats, not including the wild cats that are amazing mousers on our property. We have 2 incredible doggos that love the outdoor space and have a huge backyard to run in. So yeah, my husband and I moved out here in 2006. So we've actually been here for quite some time. And as with any property, it's a lot of work. He and I both work full time off the ranch. So being able to manage it all is definitely a Jenga puzzle, and we enjoy it. It is a tremendous amount of work, but we feel very strongly about doing it right and keeping it small keeping it manageable allows us to do just that, is definitely do things right. We raise Corriente steers. Those are the steers for those people that don't know their breeds. If you watch rodeo, you've seen the team ropers, those beautiful animals that have the horns. That's what I have in my backyard. So they're amazing animals. We have had Longhorn cross, so Corriente Longhorn cross cattle. And we had one guy, his horn span was about 5.5 feet. So he was beautiful. He had some massive horns. And to watch these animals navigate life, just moving through their day to day with those horns, is just fascinating to me.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. And Mindy, do you guys breed your cows or do you go to auction? How do you acquire your animals?
Great question. We started just by going to an auction and getting feeders.
Okay.
In that process, we were helping out a friend and ended up with 4 cows and a bull. So we tried our hand in breeding, and over the course of 2.5 years, we ended up with 9 babies, which was super fun. We love that. And in that process, realized that having a cow-calf operation is just not conducive to the bottom line. We don't have enough pasture land to be able to support the cows. And it takes up to 3 years for those babies to be at the point where we can actually process them for beef.
Oh.
So it takes a tremendous amount of time and a tremendous amount of resources for us to do the cow-calf. So we are switching gears once again, and we are looking at just purchasing the feeders from either, what we really like to do is the folks in the area that have roped their animals over the summer, we acquire them after they're too big to be roped.
Interesting. My brain is, I just love all of this.
Yes. And we've been in this for a long time, but we're still learning.
Yeah.
That's how it is with business, though. It's a never ending cycle of learning, right? That's what makes it so great.
Yeah.
I know Abby and I are really hungry to learn from you, Mindy. Well, a lot of things today, but especially as Abby and I have been talking the last few weeks about these different buzzwords and quality of food. Can you share with us, tell us about how you feed your cattle, but tell us a little bit more. Why is it important to you, the way that you do it and what you do? And from supporting your animals themselves, high integrity, that they're getting nourishment, but also even from kind of an environmental conversation. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. This could take a little bit, but I love this question. So because we're a small operation, we watch each animal individually, and therefore there's no need for us to vaccinate, medicate, antibiotics, hormones, any of that. I was talking with folks yesterday. We were sampling beef, and I said there's nothing in it and there's nothing on it. So really, it's when you get good quality beef, there is no need to put a whole bunch of seasonings and flavorings and salt and sugar and those things that both of you try to steer clear of. So that is the beautiful part of a smaller operation. And that's not to say that the larger operations are bad. It's just to say there's a benefit to dealing with smaller operations. So we do have a unique feeding program. Our cows get grass alfalfa mix every day, all day. So they munch on grass and alfalfa all day long. In addition to that, we feed brewer's grain, and that is a spent grain from the beer making process. So the breweries will take their grain and they will pour water on it and they boil it. And what happens, it pulls the sugars and the starch out of that grain. So all of the bad stuff goes into the beer that we drink. And then all of the good stuff, which is high fiber, high protein, goes into my cow's bellies. So they absolutely love it. They love, I call it oatmeal because it's a hot mash when they actually get it. It's a beautiful feedstuffs because it's so low in that sugar starch that our animals are able to build muscle rather than the fat. We still get that beautiful marbling that people know and love in their beef, but we don't have a thick back fat. And what that means when you remove the hide of the animal, they all have a fat covering around the entire carcass. Ours is about 1/4 to 1/2 an inch. Some animals we've seen can be an inch or more of back fat.
Oh, wow.
So when you're paying per carcass weight, so we charge per pound of carcass weight, you're actually paying for protein on my end rather than that fat cover on another processor's animal or whatever you are purchasing. So coming back to maybe a question that you could ask your producer is, what is the fat cover on the carcasses as you're processing them? So that fat cover is calculated in that carcass weight, but it's trimmed off during the process of breaking this carcass down. So it's a whole interesting process of being able to feed that high fiber, high protein diet to end up with a much better quality carcass, but you still get the flavor that people know and love from the corn-fed beef.
And
Now, Mindy,
Mindy,
I have a, oh,
yeah, go
sorry.
Abby, you go. I know, both
I
of
have
us.
a question kind of that ties back to something you said before. You said you have 28 acres and that you would technically be allowed to have 100 animals on
Yes.
your property, which I've been to your property and it's amazing, but I can't imagine, knowing that I've walked your field with you, I can't imagine what it would look like with you 100 head of cattle on that property. So going back to that and what you just mentioned about the corn feedlots, like we hear so much about these corn feedlots and how over packed they are, or but they are still within those regulations. Can you share, do you have that knowledge? Do you know, like, what does the USDA or whoever the governing body, what do they say is an appropriate amount of space for a ranch to have per animal?
That's
And what is, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. And that's a really good question. In terms of feedlot, they're regulated a little bit differently because those animals are only there for 90 days. So they bring their animals in and they feed them basically the finishing ration. So those animals are there for 90 days being fed a finishing ration. So those regulations are just a little bit different than what it is for me because I'm considered a grazing operation. So if I had really what they allow on my property, it would just be overgrazed to the point that it wouldn't function as well as a pasture. So even with that, we still have to supplement. We still have to purchase grass alfalfa hay because we just don't have the pasture land to be able to adequately support our animals anyway. And you supplement it, you make them happy. They have food in front of them 24/7, so they're super happy animals. So with that, when you look at that 90 days, and that's where it kind of differs because we could be up to 2 years in finishing an animal.
I was going to ask
They're
that.
finishing, yes, they're finishing it. Most of the animals in a feedlot setting are going to be about 18 months. So these animals are on pasture for the first 12 months of their life, 12, 15 months of their life. So they have an amazing life. They're on hundreds of acres and they're with their mamas and they're able to enjoy life. And then for the last 90 days, they get moved into that feedlot. So that's kind of the difference between the two operations. I think I kind of answered your question.
Yeah. I wanted to ask that question because Megan and I have had conversations around chickens and eggs over the last couple, and you know, how they're getting really prescriptive about, you know, you can't even buy non-cage free. You can only buy cage-free eggs in Colorado now, which is
Right.
great, but I don't know that people have a true understanding of what does that really mean and to try to envision it. So I wanted to kind of translate that concept to what you do with on your ranch with Mark and what those feedlots might,
Right.
people have that image in their head. So thank you for that.
Yeah. I also want to go back to kind of what you said about the feedlots being overloaded, if you will. They don't overload their pens.
Okay.
Those animals have plenty of space to walk around and lay down and fight and play and argue and do all the things that cows do. So they're not sitting there packed like little sardines in this small little pen.
Right. Okay.
They're treated very well, and they have an amazing food ration. They're fed 2 or 3 times a day. Um, so it's just, again, I never want to bash that industry because we
No.
need that industry for certain things. I mean, we wouldn't be able to eat what we eat. We wouldn't be able to go out to eat without that industry. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Temple Grandin, Dr. Grandin.
No.
She is an incredible, amazing, world-renowned animal behaviorist out of Colorado State University. She is uh she has transformed the beef industry more than any single human ever has in what I know and understand. She is autistic and incredibly brilliant. And one of her first books was Thinking in Pictures. So because she's autistic, she has a different view on the world.
Mhm.
She actually sees and understands what animals see and understand.
Mm.
So she started with, it was early in her career, she started working with McDonald's. McDonald's was going through an incredible fight, and it was through people wanting to transform how animals were handled from the process from birth to process. So she came in and she started looking at all of the animal handling facilities that McDonald's was working with, and she made incredible suggestions. She's like, cows are balking at this. They don't like this. They're afraid of this. You need to put this here. You need to enclose this. You need to. She had all of these incredible suggestions to make every single process in this chain of animal handling so much more humane and friendly and stress-free for the animals. So I would encourage you actually to look into some of Temple Grandin's work because
Okay.
she has single-handedly transformed the handling of animals. So we have translated that into all the feedlots, and I have incorporated a lot of that into what we do as well because I have a background in working at CSU for 5 years with her graduate student. I was able to see some of those things that she was talking about. And when we have certain issues on the ranch, I'm like, they're not liking this. This is what they're seeing. This is what they are thinking, which is why they won't go through this gate. So in that, we're able to take this and make things much more stress-free for our animals industry-wide, but not only for myself, but industry-wide as well.
Wow. All right, ladies. So we are going to have to wrap up there. But for all of you watching, stay tuned. We are going to keep on keeping on. So there are more conversations ahead with Mindy. And Mindy, we are just so honored to have some time. This is so fascinating. My brain is totally going off, and you have some real wisdom to share. So we're so happy to have you with us. And for all of you watching, look out for the next episode.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I have different